Tonight, it's my turn. All right, so we are convening this workshop of the North Whidbey Pool Park and Recreation District. Commissioner Hawley is doing the minutes. It is 6:01 p.m. on Monday, May 13th, and our scope of work tonight is to review the Executive Employee Handbook draft. And so here we go. These are your pages from before. Okay. All right, so I want to ask a question on the, I was trying to type in some changes to the employee handbook, and I realized there was a part that we sort of discussed it, but never really came up with, here's what we should do. So I have been calling some people full-time employees. Do I need to just call them full-time exempt, and that takes care of all those guys? Or do we say executive?
I think you're going to have to review where the use is, because there are certain things, and I'll just use an example. The travel policy is in here for an executive employee. That's not necessarily the case. So it's. I think. What I would think that we do is conditionally approve with a couple of exceptions. Meaning when we feel like we're ready, right? But when we go through the process, I think the one thing I would ask that we do, even with what we've already reviewed, is wherever we've said, yeah, we're going to go back and fix that later, or yeah, we're going to hold off for this, put a placeholder there so that it's very clear in the document that something's still awaited, so it doesn't get forgotten.
Yes.
But I think things like that, maybe go back, we can go back through and figure out what those contextual items are, because I think the real answer is it depends, because it depends where it is and it depends how it's used.
True.
And so because we even fully staffed, we don't have a lot of full-time employees. And it doesn't mean that some of these policies don't apply to other people.
Right.
And so I think it's probably just going to, truly, I think it's going to depend on what it is.
Okay. I will just keep putting question marks when I come to those then, because...
Yeah, and that was actually in this, on the executive handbook, page 3, technically that was my first, just underline thing was, is it talks about this applies to executive full-time employees, and it's well, as much as, I know I'm being critical, the other part of it is well, what is it supposed to be? I don't know, that's the problem. You know what I mean? This is the best we know until we have something else to either call it or something, and maybe that's even, we know that this has to go through our insurance company to be reviewed. Maybe those are things that they can help us with as well. Because, it's really what our employee classification is really what we're really talking about.
Okay.
I would think they might be able to help with that.
All right. So page 1, we're going to change the logo.
Right.
Got that. And I actually decided, let's just delete this line down here and we'll just paginate all the Does that work for everybody instead of, because we always had this employee manual, and it has a date on it. It's do we need that? Or, somebody's going to get a stapled copy of this and it's I don't think it's important that it has on there the title on every page. Does everyone concur with that? Is that okay?
You're probably right.
Okay. All right. So I will change on the table of contents. I will make sure that's accurate and right time. I just wanted to get it changed before I check the page numbers and stuff, but that'll look better. So on page 3, which is chapter 1, you said you had something.
Well, it was just the full-time employees.
Okay.
It says provide specific information for the executive full-time employees.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what the right answer is. I think we'll just have to figure out what that classification is.
Okay. So are you okay with this going to the insurance company and letting them...
Sure.
Okay.
That's fine. They might not. We probably want to ask specific questions because they don't necessarily have they don't sit around and wonder what we call our employees on a daily basis. Meaning, they're just going to look for things that they see as risk. But part of it is what could we, we're having trouble here. Can you suggest something based on some? I don't know.
Okay.
Before we do it, just Vicky, but could we justify this margin?
Oh, I told you it's gonna be cleaned up.
Well, I didn't know that.
She was just waiting.
Since
until
I don't
the
even
rest
have the page numbers and stuff, so I was not gonna justify it. And it may be that somebody who's better at Word than I, Julie, that would probably be you, who might have to do it, because I've been messing with it, and I can't get them to like, but
Word
yes.
is not that's the program.
Yeah. So, but yes, the answer is that's gonna look, it's gonna have real numbers, and it'll be nice and pretty. And I just have to clarify it with, well, my thing is to make sure that page numbers are right, and that those things are all that they're actually labeled correctly, and I haven't made changes, because I do. All right, page 4. From Pat, I got the second paragraph in 2.1. Applications will be accepted for all positions, period. All applications to expire after 6 months. It's just a changing. And then 2.2, hiring. Down in the second paragraph, adding an and that for the final clause, and that NWPPRD is an equal opportunity employer. And then the last full paragraph from the bottom, put in a return to Director of Finance for processing. And do we want to, we had talked in the other one about, because we don't know what titles are going to be, should we just say, after a hiring decision is made and approved when necessary by the director, all forms shall be returned to appropriate person for processing?
I'd leave it right now, but
Okay.
I'd take but again, the applicable supervisor in the next one.
Oh, yes. I went through and changed supervisor in the other one. I haven't gone through this one yet.
Right,
You're
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
one, it's up 3, it starts with all applicants selected. There's a part, I know if you're gonna do a global search and replace, I'm not gonna worry about, yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to make sure, let me make a note to myself, department heads
Oh.
to supervisor, otherwise I might forget.
I think if we leave them the way that it currently has existed, I think that's fine, and then, because I think if we change them to things that are too benign, then, we'll need to go and update it at some point anyway, and those really minimal updates shouldn't be a big deal, all we're doing is changing a title, big deal.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm not worried about that stuff. Oh yeah, there's one.
Okay.
Do we actually post, when we post a job, do we post a closing date?
Sometimes.
Okay.
For the director position, yes. I would assume for a maintenance director and a water director, for those types of positions we would. With lifeguards and swim instructors and front desk, it tends to be more, until we find a suitable applicant, we keep it open.
Yeah, so
And
maybe,
really, lifeguards and swim instructors, they
Right.
kind of always are.
so maybe we just change a little bit of the wording here from the following information shall be included. It's 2.2.
Okay.
And so the second paragraph down, the second line, the following information, instead of shall be included, or shall be included in the job vacancy notice as appropriate, or something that, because otherwise it's a very,
Oh, because.
we
got
don't
it.
always do that. And
Yeah.
it,
Okay, thank you. Following shall be as appropriate. There. That leaves it open to interpretation. Does that work?
yep.
Okay. Another comma on page 5. Do you have anything?
Nope, I don't have anything on page 5.
Anything on 6?
Nope.
On 7? Oh, and we're getting rid of working hours for all employees, and we're deleting except those days as full-time exempt are variable.
Which one are we at?
Oh, sorry, page 7. First paragraph. I made your change. Which was, or was it the change anyway. So deleting except those days as full-time exempt, because all employees have variable hours. That's what it is.
Yeah, and that's the same, so 3.2 overtime, that first sentence, full-time employees are classified as exempt. That's not necessarily the truth, but, that's, so that's one thing.
Full-time salaried employees would be classified as exempt.
Right,
Oh,
exactly,
so if
yeah.
I put salaried in there, does that work then?
It does, but I don't really know, I guess I'm not entirely sure what the point of it is then, but.
Because they can't get overtime.
Well, as long as their salary reaches a certain threshold.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this thing that's like, well, if you fit over here, you get overtime. And if you fit over here, you don't. And if you're in between, then you do. And it's kind of like, then I struggle for the meaning of this. I feel like it's one of those things that's just been changed a number of times, and now you're kind of struggle with like, so what does that mean? So in reality, I don't know. I don't know. I'll just go with whatever. If nothing, well, no, I guess, yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
Are you okay with it then?
I don't, it seems superfluous, but there are worse things. So I'll go with that.
Okay. Okay, page 8. There's a, fixing the lining up on it, got that? Did you have anything?
I don't have anything on page 8, no.
Okay, page 9, retirement question from Pat. Do we need to set a maximum percent on the, and the answer is, I don't think we do, because we are in line with the state federal limit. So I don't think we need to set, we just go to whatever the state federal says, that's what we do.
We just have to pay whatever PERS says, 12.7% right now or something.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It is a lot. It's
So-
the most out of most of the states.
but aren't we, I mean, we don't have a choice, do we? It's like, or can you make it less?
No, like the employer has to pay 12.7 right now. I think the employee has to pay 8% or something
Okay.
right around there.
So the answer is, it doesn't matter, we can't set a maximum percentage. It's, since we're just saying it's based on whatever okay, so.
Okay, so the maximum percentage that we would pay is whatever the state says?
Yes.
And is this just matching what the employee pays? Or is
Yes,
that
so
just what we
I think the employee can pay up to this percent, and if they pay this percent, we pay this percent. Is that right? Whereas if they don't want to pay that much, then we pay a lot less.
Yeah, because I've always, whenever I've heard of any businesses, it's like they match 3% or something like that.
Me too. I had the same question. Yeah, because I wondered about that as well. So is it a mandate because they're public employees?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the
Okay.
difference.
Yeah,
Okay.
Public Employee Retirement System, I think, is what PERS stands for.
Okay.
I think it's like the 11 Western states use it or something. I don't think the employee can opt out even. I don't think I wouldn't. I like it, but 8 or 10% out of every paycheck's like, good Lord. But I don't think the employee even has an option. I think the employee has to pay it or they gotta go work somewhere else, at least where I'm at. Now here, the employee doesn't have to take the retirement, and I don't think we.
No, because it's like
we
they
have
may
anybody taking
defer,
it, right?
they may
Exactly.
defer.
Yeah.
So there is a choice, right? If it's,
Well, they may defer an amount.
And up to the
Right,
state
it's
or federal
deferred
limit, yeah.
compensation.
Yes,
Yeah.
deferred.
Right, right. It's not. It doesn't mean deferring
Doesn't
the
mean that
plan.
they're
Yeah,
refusing
they
to.
can opt in or they can opt out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like, for example, Coach Taylor always opted out,
yes.
and Steve opted in, so.
Okay, and then health insurance, Pat asked the question, what are the percentages now? What was I can't remember, we were at 90% for
think
the
we-
employee and 50
And
for family?
50 for, I believe, yes.
But right now, we don't have anybody.
Right now, we don't have anybody taking insurance.
But that was what we agreed to a long time ago in a vote, far, far away.
So
Was 90% for the employee and 50 for the family.
if we were going to adjust that, it would be a good time, I guess.
Well, I would say, I would not put it in the book. I would say let the board, when it comes up, let them make the decision, look at the numbers.
I think the part that we just need to, and again, I don't have a fix necessarily for this, but just regular full-time employees again.
Okay.
And it's kind of
Yeah.
I don't know exactly.
And Shane, do you know what the number of hours is per Washington law for where you're supposed to offer it now?
I don't think we have enough full-time employees to where we're
Well, it's
technically
full-time
supposed to.
equivalent employees.
But can you
But
find that out? Well, because
yeah,
the
I
hours
can-
would would be,
I
that
think-
would be based on an individual
Mhm.
basis. So it wouldn't be FTE based,
So,
it
no,
would
and
be
I-
individual based on the contribution.
We should review what the requirements are, because I know like when I first started, it was if you worked over 30 or 32 hours that you were offered insurance.
Was it
So
if you
like
had
we
more
were
than-
careful to schedule a
if you
little
had more
based
than-
on that.
50 employees you were supposed to offer, 50 full-time employees, something like that, I believe.
That, and it was full-time equivalent, so would you find out what those numbers are for us, and, yeah.
5.3, I just took out the word properly. I mean, it's just terminated for cause. And then,
Oh,
and that was it. Just, if you're terminated for cause.
it's of course gonna be proper, got it.
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm still, health insurance, medical insurance, it's not medical, it's health insurance. Who are we going to offer it to then? If it's not to full-time employees, how do we define who it is we do offer it to? And that was, I thought it was full-time employees, because we don't have that many.
It is full-time. It's
Okay.
just, we don't know what the definition
It's,
of.
like
Someone
I-
could work 30 hours a week and the state considers them full.
And I know like for my student loans that I think 32 hours a week is where they consider you full-time, so I'm guessing health insurance might be similar.
I remember it was 29 when I first got here. Can you have that by
Yes,
Thursday?
I think so.
Okay, all right. So we will chat about that again. All right. Anything else on page 9?
Under 5.5, sick leave.
Uh-huh.
So item B says the need to care for the employee's dependent children under the age of 18 who are ill. The list of covered family members is actually children regardless of age, parents, spouses, domestic partners, grandparents, grandchildren, and siblings.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to amend that.
Okay. Is that in that thing that you gave me last time?
It is not. Well, it might be listed in there, but that
Okay.
is.
So either make a copy of that and like circle it for me if you would, and I will.
Probably give you this one.
Okay.
But could we, I mean, does it make sense for us to call out those parties, or does it make sense for us to reference the law and say,
Oh, that's better.
you know, whatever,
Either
you know, like, I don't know what the real terminology is, it probably says in the state law, but something about, you know, applicable parties or applicable, you know, something that says who's eligible, whatever the wording is.
Yeah, and
But somebody wrote a law, they knew what
in
they were
this
doing.
from L&I, it has a specific section, definition of a family member, and then family member is defined as, and it lists those 7 categories.
Okay, yeah, because if we reference that way, if something gets added to it or changes, then we don't need to go back in and go, oh,
Update your whole.
And lest we encourage people to, oh, my sister Bessie is ill, so has a stomach ache, so.
well, it would be, I mean, we're referencing the law that.
No, you know, I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
that's much better than listing all of
The parties involved, yeah.
Do we want to just take A through F and delete them and just say, every employee, they're going to accrue it, sick leave is covered those situations in which employees have to work due to, see the law, because, you know.
Well, I don't, is that what the law is that you're, I thought it was just in terms of other, like, sorry, what is this?
So this is the,
Oh, paid sick leave.
yeah, this is for the paid sick.
Oh, okay.
Or, well, because this is.
I don't think that this part is bad to leave in, because things like, and this, I know this might sound really silly, but use of a prescription drug that impairs job performance or safety. In the case of the business that we're in, I don't think that calling it out is a bad thing. I'm just saying that, you know, and maybe there's a term, to me, calling out the parties that are supported, you know, the world has changed and it continues to change. And so instead of us having to update it for every, you know, when that changes, but maybe we say, or in accordance with, and name the law. But in this case, I think stuff like that, like when I read it the first time, my first thought was like, oh, duh. And then I was like, no, wait a minute. You know, maybe I think I'm otherwise okay, but maybe it's one of those pill bottles that tells you not to drive. Well, then you're probably not going to be the safest person on the job either. You know, even though maybe you don't want to take it off, it's like, but no, you can take sick leave for that.
So maybe you could just change B to the need to care for the employee's family member per Washington State guidelines or something like that.
I like that. Employees, family members. Okay.
As
Send-
outlined in Washington State law, or whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. And then, because I had no idea it was so far-reaching. It's a surprise to me to know that you can take time off to, you know, take sick leave to deal with your aging mother. But, so I'm gonna need to figure out how to reword some of this, and I'll put it in the, since now everybody gets sick leave, it needs to go into the regular handbook as well. So whatever change I make here will go into the regular handbook.
So what's never been clear to me, and I don't use sick days, I don't like them, obviously. The 3-day thing with the doctor note. So following what you just read in the law, and I don't think this is something we put in there. So if your aging mother-in-law is sick and you're taking care of her, can it be a note from her doctor? Because I've had employees try it. I've had employees try it, and I don't know, it's like,
Well, it just
whatever.
says a doctor.
It would have to be
your doctor. It says
Exactly.
a doctor.
And that's what they've said, and it's like, oh my gosh, whatever, fine. It's like, fine.
Okay.
Is that the way it's meant to be though?
Yeah.
Don't know, is it really?
Okay.
Wow.
So we'll do some work on the sick leave part since it's been overtaken by law.
And I'll give you the FAQ on it. I can print another copy of this.
Oh, okay, thank you.
This is, yeah, that is the sick leave one.
Thank you. All right, that'll be helpful. All right, anything else on this page? No? Okay, anything on page 10 in those final? Okay, page 11.
So I just had the question, is this in the other book?
No.
Okay, it seems like it should be.
Well, except that those people who don't accrue leave and aren't executives don't really, you know, if you're going to be in jury duty or something like that, then you don't get paid leave. You don't take.
Well, right, you don't get paid because you're not working, but on the other hand, I mean, but we've also said that you have someone, you need to fill your shift, and you need to, so, I mean, in this case, I mean, I think there's a line here, so I'm not quite, I understand that I think what you're trying to convey is somebody who would normally get vacation pay or whatever, but somebody who's expected to be here, well, I mean, first of all, if they're accruing sick pay, but in this case, it's leave without pay, and we addressed leaves of absence in the other one. I just feel like there's a fine line between the difference. And
To me, they don't need to take leave. They just need to don't sign up for a shift that you can't work.
well, you
Because
can't,
all of
you
these
can't
things,
do that.
all of these things, other than maybe a drug or alcohol treatment, jury duty, you know well in advance if you're going to get the letter from the sheriff's department. I get it 3 months in advance.
Okay, I've had jury duty in another state, and I had to call in that day to find out if I had jury duty or not. So,
Yes.
I mean, so maybe I can show up for this shift, and I intend to, but I mean, maternity leave. When are you? You know, I mean, yeah, you can try to the best of your ability, but sometimes it's out of your control. I mean, everyone knows you're going to take it, pretty sure.
Okay, like I said, was trying to make it because I just didn't see. How many people want the leave without pay section to be in the regular employee handbook? I just don't think it belongs in there myself, but
I don't think it's particularly necessary in there because I think, you know, if they don't show up and they didn't tell you, unless they call that morning saying, you know, I'm in bed sick, you know, they do that once or twice, they probably won't have any job. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think.
I just think all of these things are, you get enough prior warning of them that you're not gonna sign up for a shift.
I'm not sure that voting even, I don't understand why voting is in there.
Didn't it used to be a vote by mail?
Actually, I'm gonna
Yeah,
delete
well, yeah,
voting
that's
because
Yeah,
that's
because
from,
everything's mail-in now.
yes,
Right.
remember, this is from 2012,
Right.
so let's, I.
Well, it's not from
No,
2012.
it's not for 2012.
It's from the 90s.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I would delete voting
Yeah.
and any mention of the voting.
I guess the jury duty is the tough one. I mean, because you're probably gonna go in there and get out in a few hours, but if they end up picking you for a couple weeks, you're not gonna clear your schedule for 2 weeks. I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
'Cause you
See, I
can't work
do.
it, right?
When I get the notice, and I've gotten it a couple times since I retired, I mark it in yellow on my calendar, retired, so I can do that, and I make sure I don't schedule anything. And it's like, I'm not a worker, so obviously that's different than,
Yeah.
but it's like,
I mean, we would obviously work with them. I mean, I think that's the law, right?
Yes.
I mean, so,
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the question to me is not, it's, are there things we need to state? If we're asking people to read things that their employment is contingent upon, then what do we need to tell them? And that's, I mean, to me, that's the purpose of this manual. And so, I mean, I could go either way with it, because part of it is as long as, I mean, you know, sure, I would expect someone to say something.
Well,
I mean, of course I would.
considering
but-
the nature of a lot of our employees, things that aren't listed here that I think if they were, this would belong more in the regular one,
Right.
would be things like study abroad programs, or the kids that go off to college that they might take, you know, unpaid leave to go off to college and want their job waiting for them when they come back. And I don't remember, was that covered somewhere in the other?
Yes, it is.
Okay. But with these items, they're not things that most of the people that that other handbook is intended for, it probably wouldn't apply to them.
I get scheduled twice since I started this job
I know.
for jury duty.
And we have been scheduled, since we've lived here, multiple times, and not one single time I wanted to serve. Have they ever
I had a good juicy
actually had something going? Did yours?
No, it was the same.
You're a
thing.
registered voter, right?
It's-
Of course. Oh, don't I'm sitting here.
The only reason I can think why you're not, why you're not, okay. So-
My wife made it to the stage to where they asked the jurors if you know somebody. Yeah, she got excused pretty quick. Like all
Okay.
12 of them were like, I know her husband.
So we're gonna leave this just in the executive one and not put it in the regular
Okay.
handbook. Is that okay? All right. Page 12, anything?
Witness duty. Yeesh.
Page 13, 6.6 military leave, Pat asked, is this all the law? And I honestly do not know, I don't.
Julie has something.
So I didn't find anything specific to active duty service members, but I'll pass this on to you. Washington State does have a Military Family Leave Act, which entitles spouses to take leave prior to a deployment or mid-deployment. And I would think that would be, it's unpaid of course, but yes, it does provide that stipulation. And the mid-deployment thing, I would think would be for like the lengthy deployments, the year-long ones where they get to come home partway through.
Right.
And just because we are in the military community, I feel like we might be wise to put some reference to that, maybe even in the regular handbook. Because we do intend to employ a lot of military spouses.
Absolutely. Okay.
But in terms of the active duty,
This is not just, because it's not just the, I think
Or
this is
reserve.
supposed to be reserve is what I think they were. Because an active duty member, it's like, obviously, their first job is gonna
is the
come
military.
first. And if they're, you know, moonlighting as a.
which we do have some.
Which we've had.
Yeah, and we have had, and they've been fabulous.
Oh, yes.
It's like, then obviously, when it's time for them to deploy, they deploy, and it's like, okay. So I don't know if it's all the law, but but for the reserve, and I know that, letting reservists come back to their jobs is not always within the law, but Washington State is fairly, they do some interesting things, so.
I will double check.
Just,
And see what I can find.
it's a good question. I like the standard that we've got here. I think it's a good one. I would like to prefer to keep it, but it's important for us to know, is it the law?
Yep, I'll double check on it.
Okay.
So there's one other thing that, and I don't know if we want to put it in, and I don't know where else it fits within this, but Washington also, you're gonna love me, has a Domestic Violence Leave Act that allows for some requirements to provide unpaid leave in cases of domestic violence. So I don't know if we want to reference that as well, but I thought I would pass it along.
Thank you. We should. And I'll just put it in here as another additional thingy. Okay. All right. So any other changes on page 13?
So again, so some places we call it regular full-time. Here we've referred to it as designated full-time employees under holidays. Again, I think it's a consistency thing, It's sometimes we call it salary, sometimes we call it exempt, sometimes we call it regular, sometimes we call it designated. It would just be, and maybe designated full-time is the right term.
I like that because then it's like you pick and you're going to get this and we know who they are.
And there has to be a standard of criteria for that, meaning it can't just be like, well, you do, but not that much.
You were full-time last week, so I guess you can have it.
Okay,
Right,
I'll do a search on both of these documents and find the full-time employees and make them, and read it, and make sure that it makes sense.
The designated, yeah.
Okay.
I feel the need to call out, do we really need Columbus Day? Is that really,
Well, and I don't know if it's still referred to as Columbus Day, because I think a lot of
I think
places
probably
are
in this
changing the terminology.
state. Yeah, but it's,
The federal government gives.
It's the day of
Columbus.
sorrow.
right, they do, but that doesn't mean that we
No,
have,
I know. No, it's definitely a day that many people
Right,
resent.
so, I mean,
It's a bank holiday, so
The only other one you can get away with whacking is Labor Day. The rest of them will cause a riot.
well, and it's not about just trying to reduce
I
the
know.
number, it's, to me, it's the legitimacy of this one. I mean, I work for Fortune 20 companies, I never got Columbus Day.
I got
mean-
Columbus Day every year I worked.
Well, of course you did. We've already established what you did for. Of course you did, and plenty of people do. But I've never had it.
We created ours for Black Friday because the boss wanted to go shopping. But it works. It works for everybody else. We like it.
But are we open all of these days?
Well, not all
Perhaps we
of them.
should just say that the days that we're closed are the holidays that we pay for.
Well,
I mean,
we're not closed on all of these days.
Well, I know.
We're closed on like 3 of them. I think.
Well, I mean, it used to be they were open all of those days.
No, the only
But-
New Year's Day and Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? We're
And we're
not
closed 4th of July also,
Oh, okay.
Independence Day.
Here's what I would say is if we opt to keep let's call it a 10th holiday, then you make it an optional
I got an idea.
an optional holiday,
So-
meaning or what do we call it?
Do you want to?
Employee, like designated, like I can't remember what it's called, but
What
like
if we put a personal holiday where Columbus?
that's what I'm saying is because then the person can choose when that holiday is.
Maybe they want to celebrate whatever.
Their birthday.
There you go.
Right, or whatever.
I was thinking
Yeah.
So
Hanukkah.
see it again, that's what
Yeah.
the rest of the world
That's
has been
better.
doing for decades, so
Donating. Just saying.
I don't really.
Federal government. But no, so replace Columbus Day with personal day?
With a personal holiday.
Personal holiday, and I'll put that last. Okay.
And, there's probably more whatever that needs to go in there about a personal holiday. But, meaning the scheduling of it, but it's not going to apply to a whole lot of people. So I think I would be okay with just kind of, leaving it for now.
Okay. I'll stick a sentence under, you know,
You could put a little asterisk.
yeah, Holly's whatever, I'll just put it under, okay. That works. Anything on 14? Nope. 15, you asked on 7.2E, what are the exceptions? There's a, except as allowed pursuant to RCW, and it's like, that's why we listed the things, so you can look it up. I did
Oh.
not, I almost went and looked at it, but I thought, yeah, well, you know, you can look them up. I wasn't gonna look them up. I don't remember what the exceptions are. Do you think we really need to list them?
No,
You're probably right.
I just
It's probably
wondered what
always
they were.
changed.
Because it's gonna be, it'll change, and
Yeah.
it's the law, so, okay. And I think it's this big, long, ugly list of things, and it's got a lot of legalese, and it's,
Yeah,
so, I don't want.
we don't want a 20 extra additional pages.
And if someone's reading this, and they're like, ooh, I might have a conflict, they need to look at those RCWs, read them thoroughly, so, okay.
One question. Employees may, with prior approval of the Board of Commissioners, Director, and/or Department Head, observe religious holidays.
Where are we? What page?
I'm on 1468.
Okay,
Does that mean they have to get approval of the Board of Commissioners and the Director?
No, I think what it means depending on who the employee is.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so if the
So if
employee
it's you-
is the director, then it would be the Board of Commissioners. If it's anybody else, it would be the director.
Yeah, or the supervisor. Okay. Okay? All right. So, anything on page 15? 16? 17?
So, in paragraph 2, Roman numeral 1, paragraph 2, these regulations follow the guidelines established by the Washington State Office of Financial Management Policies, Regulations, and Procedures Manual. My question is, has this been verified?
No.
Okay, and again, we may want to just look at how we pair and reference, not to absolve ourselves of any responsibility, but it says this is current, and it's like, well, then we would have to have a cycle of reviewing it to make sure it stays current, and that's, I mean, we have to be current on policies and laws, absolutely we do, but on the other hand, it's like, but when we put them in print, we've set ourselves up for a maintenance exercise.
Yes. Good question. So I will confirm and make changes where it's not the same.
So in 2A 1B, under general travel policy, so B, travel authorization form VPF-130.
I
Where is
don't have any idea what that is.
It sounds very, very serious and
Honest if it
official.
is, I don't have any idea what that is.
It's twice on this
I know.
page, and I was like, where is this? What is this? So we probably need to replace that with something. Or is there,
You know, an expense voucher gets filled out and a copy of the MapQuest directions that shows mileage to the destination.
well, this is prior to
printed
travel.
out
This is,
and
right, this is authorization of travel, right?
yeah, you know.
So I guess the real question about, so that if this is related to planning of trips, it's who needs to approve that?
And what is this form?
Well, and I think we can just remove those references, but it's,
supervisor.
right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it probably needs to be signed by the director.
Yeah.
So do we want people to get signed authorization before they go on travel?
Well, I would think that in general, I would think that you would. I mean, with the exception of things like driving to the county.
Well, that's what I
mean.
Well, that's
Depends on what travel.
approved.
is.
you know, in perpetuity for the one person
It's a
that does it,
cyclical,
so, yeah.
job responsibility.
But authorization of travel is to be exercised through the use of a travel authorization form, and just take out the VPF 130, because we don't even know what
Well,
that
I
is.
wouldn't, but what I think I just heard is there is no form, we don't use a form. And so really, it would be, it would basically be approval of, you know, whomever, right? I mean, so that could be an email, that could be a conversation, that could be whatever it needs to be. It's not a travel authorization form, though.
Okay, do we want to let it be, I'm trying to think of the word, that loose, and that's fine, because this is a small organization.
I think it should
Okay.
be, because, I mean, again, I don't know that we need more forms to review, approve, and maintain,
Okay,
when probably the travel typically is known well in advance.
okay, so, authorization of travel is to be pre-approved by supervisor or director.
That makes sense.
And then out-of-state travel involving overnight stays requires prior approval of the director or designee. And that's in case the director is not available. Okay. All right. Anything else on that page?
Just the VPF 130 again.
Oh,
The mystery
we
document.
actually, so B is now authorization of travel is to be
Right, I know,
approved by supervisor or director.
Right, but B1A also has the VPF 130.
So that
The old
would be.
VPF 130.
So travel expenses would be reimbursed using the district expense voucher form, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's somewhere in the, it's in with the.
It's the one that you filled out for.
Right, but there should be a
reimbursement
copy
for your-
of it attached here, right?
Yeah, and I'm not sure where it went, because I thought it was with this,
Okay, but my point is that we're making a note to include it as an
Yes.
appendix. Okay.
When we get the server back up and running, I can email you a copy of the document that we use
okay,
that you can include.
okay. And it's NWPPRD expense, what?
I think it's an expense voucher.
Form or something. Okay, when I get it,
Yeah.
I'll look at the title. Okay. Okay. Anything else? All right, page 18.
To North Whidbey Pool Park and Recreation District.
Yep, saw that. Fix that line up.
I don't know where it starts, but somewhere there's, it's probably not on this page because I don't see it. But instead of referring to things as a duty station, it would just be a primary work location.
Okay. I'll do a search. Duty station.
Yeah, I mean, here it says actually,
Primary work?
primary work location. I mean, there really is only one anyway, so 3A1, official residence or workstation, and it would just really be, again, be primary work location.
Okay.
So we're on 3 in that one. I don't have anything else in 3.
Okay.
Wow.
Anything else on page 18?
Yeah, 4A or 4B, whenever possible, motor vehicle rentals, registration fees, rental of rooms for official business and other miscellaneous travel expenses in excess of $50 are not to be paid by the employee. Disagree. To bill the district in accordance with prescribed purchasing requirements. That doesn't, I mean, that's
That doesn't
like, right, of course it doesn't.
Okay.
Can you just bill my employer? You will get a check in like 4 to 6 weeks, I swear. It's fine, it'll be fine. It's
You
fine.
know, I just had this experience booking a hotel in this town for the instructor we brought in, and no, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, so that it's super out of date.
Geez, you act like you had to use your card or
So
something.
just delete the whole
Right?
section.
Well, I think the real thing is that I think the real policy there is probably that these charges should go on a district credit card wherever possible. I'm just knocking off you, but they should be wherever possible because of the the relatability and the tracking of that.
So do you want to say whenever possible, district credit card should be used to take care of?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would just kind of use the language there and just reduce,
Okay.
but it's really about using that company credit card. Because a lot of that is even also transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, we might have to have more credit cards in that case.
We don't have a whole lot of travelers.
Yeah,
Well,
we have very, very few, and whoever, if they were gonna do some traveling, they probably would need to increase their limit on their card, because I know, like yours is pretty low.
Mine's 2,500.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's
Okay.
not bad.
It's a little bit higher than I thought. I was thinking they were like at 1,000. Okay.
Oh, 19 is my favorite. Coin telephone. Coin box telephone.
Yeah.
Coin box telephone.
Which don't exist. So I've just deleted that line.
There we go. Too bad. We're gonna miss you, coin box telephone. We're gonna miss you.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on page 19? All right, page 20.
So, number 2. So the 50-mile rule thing, is there where did that number come from? Because that's an hour away from here.
I know.
I mean, I understand if like it's really, really long hours, but 50 miles, like it's Bellingham. So you could stay the night in Bellingham. And it's like, that just feels like maybe a little, the mileage number seems a little low, but that's me.
No, and I agree, and I'm sure it has everything to do with that the swim coach didn't want to have to come back after a long day and turn around and go back for Bellingham trips and Seattle trips, because that's where the swim coach traveled.
So like the class that we went to in Linwood, for instance, being an elected person and knowing how harsh the taxpayer can be on Oak Harbor, etc., I drove back home. However, by the time the class got over at 5:30. By the time I got home, it was 8 o'clock, and we had like 3 hours of homework.
Yeah.
So by the time I got done doing my homework at midnight and had to turn back around at 5 o'clock the next morning, I'm like, sheesh, maybe I should have stayed down there. So I don't know. It just depends per circumstance, maybe, right?
But that's more
I
than
think
50,
it's-
but that's more than 50 miles.
You're right. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
only
you have
80 or
to work.
something, huh?
if you have to work both days, I think it's reasonable if it's 50 miles away to stay.
Well,
And see,
overnight.
More than 50.
See,
Yeah.
what I told Rex, the reason I drove back and forth is because I know so many people that drive that far to work every single
That's
day.
exactly where
That was
I'm
the
coming
hard
from.
part.
Yeah, I just feel like the threshold could be a little bit higher. That's where, and maybe it could be approved if it needs to be anything lower than that.
So per previous conversations that we've had in the past, if I'm going to a 2-day workshop that's 9 to 5 both days, I'm also on the clock while I'm driving there. So if you're a 50-mile or like to Linwood where they were at, that's probably about 2 hours of driving time depending on the traffic you hit, especially coming back. You now maybe have a 10, 12-hour workday, and if you had homework in the evening, now you're a 15, 16-hour workday potentially, depending on your travel. That's a lot to do. So even though your mileage isn't that far, your total number of hours on the clock is a lot when you factor it that way.
But if you're exempt,
Right, it doesn't
you
matter.
don't care.
Right.
No,
No, but it doesn't make it, I mean, right, but then it's not a factor. I personally feel like 50 is a little bit too low,
Is there a number that you would like to change it to?
not 50.
Northgate's 84 miles away.
I mean, I was thinking 70, I was thinking 75, but I mean, that's what I was, that's what I was thinking. I mean, I just feel like it's a little, like, it becomes a little more, because truly, I mean, Bellingham's an hour away. It's 50 miles.
It's 64, I think.
The place where I interviewed for a job was literally 50 miles from my doorstep. So, I mean,
Linwood's 51. That funny. I think 75 is probably fine.
75, do we have to
I mean, if anybody
Okay.
else wants a different number, that's fine too. I just feel like 50 is a
75 is
little low.
good, 75 is good, because that puts Bellingham, you need to come
Do
home.
we want to word something in there to where the director can approve of?
For other
That's
circumstances, I think that's
Yeah.
great. I think
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yes, I think so.
75.
Because I think like you're talking about, and like you're talking about, where you have really more than 8 hours.
And, yes, exactly, and we won't end up in this same situation with a swim coach again, but we might potentially for something else. I know that there were events where he would have to be on deck at 7 a.m., South Seattle, and to even physically get up, there were times where, with a ferry might not even be running as early as he would have had to leave. And so he would end up going the night before.
It
Actually-
shows, because they have in here,
You don't need to change the wording. Yeah.
No,
I mean, other
we
than
would
number,
just change
it's
the
75.
number.
Oh, I was gonna put a D at the discretion of the director, but it's actually, an employee can demonstrate staying overnight is more economical, and they also talks about health and safety of the travelers. So if they, if it's gonna be a too late, so it's basically something that you can say, yeah, that's fine.
Right.
Okay, so we're.
And
we're
that's actually the
changing it
whole,
to-
that's the whole point of the rule, is it says if you're under this threshold, you need to demonstrate it.
Yeah.
Right. So anything over this threshold, and it's expected.
Okay. So we'll change it to 75. Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else on page 20?
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's that whole station thing again, but okay, so here's the thing I'm not understanding. I'm sorry. It's like I've got to,
I feel like we might be on the same page.
well, so I feel like C is like, you can have breakfast, but you gotta have it between here and here. And you
so
can do
that's
that.
so weird.
Not only that, but it refers to, prior to your regularly scheduled working hours. The back a few pages we just said are all variable based on, the facility
The
needs
needs
and
of
whatnot.
it, yeah.
So.
But it kind of like, let's say I was an employee and I was traveling for the district. If I had a long day and I bought my breakfast and lunch at the same time, what's the no, here is my breakfast at 7:30 a.m. Here is my lunch at this, it's just dumb. And so to me, I just think that this is a great example of over-regulation. I think that there is some things about, hey, it's really, if you're traveling all day, then use the discretion of, then you get reimbursed for these meals. I don't think it overprescribes it to me a little bit.
I like a snack too.
Well, we're not paying for that, Pat.
Okay.
Oh, you need to buy your own snack. Well, at IBM, they didn't buy our lunch. And sorry, I'm pretty sure that company saved millions of dollars that way because their assertion was that you were eating lunch regardless.
Do you want to just delete the entire part of paragraph C? I remember when I first read it, I was like, oh my God, this is so complicated. And so if we just delete C, it basically says the employee is eligible, and
I think even the header for C is fine. Meaning, if you left at noon, don't charge breakfast.
Okay.
Right,
But
I mean,
just get rid of 1, 2, and 3.
I'm
fine with that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yay! It is complicated and.
Well,
yeah,
it's
weird.
ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's ridiculous.
Okay. Good.
So do we want to, where it says district determined meal times, is that over the top even? I wonder if you
Must
should
be
lose
in
the
travel
district
status
determined
during
word.
district determined meal. Yeah. You're
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Seems
How
like
about-
a
It must be in travel status
Perfect.
to qualify for meal cost reimbursement. How's that?
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, just so
Delete, I know.
bad. I just think about the endless meetings, and I'm sure we've done that over something, but the endless meetings for somebody to go, well, what if it's 60 minutes before? No, it's gotta be 90. It's definitely gotta be 90. I can just see this, and
And then we're in the middle of the desert with 90 minutes.
What if it's like it was on Friday and we're trying to figure out if your computer thing will tell you can eat or not? Right?
Right, you are now entering the lunch zone. Please purchase your lunch now.
So So somehow on Thursday, Rex's thing got set somewhere with 50 people here. It took a while for him to
My
find it.
blood
That's-
sugar, machine, is what they're talking and stuff.
All right, anything on page 21?
So the duty station thing for A.
I'm gonna find
okay.
the duty stations.
For B, I just changed the word pays, so, the district reimburses only one employee.
Okay.
I know, it's nitpicky.
No, I prefer that word also. It's reimburses better. Anything else? Okay. Page 22.
Oh yeah, so I had a question about rental vehicles. So is an employee who rents a car, are they intended to accept or reject loss and damage waiver?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because are they covered by the insurance, our insurance policy or not? Does that policy include operation of a motor vehicle? We probably need to know because we need to tell people what to do.
Can you check with the insurance company and get back to me on that one? Okay.
And we could, there's also the thing that since they're driving, they're, my car insurance pays for any damage, except for my deductible.
Yes.
Right, but the problem there is that if they're operating in a district capacity, depending on what the situation is,
Like if they were
Then
in
it wouldn't-
fatalities or
well, it
something
doesn't, even if there was damage to the car, that was, so, I mean, I can use this again, I used to rent a car every week for 12 years. Things happen, and the next thing you know, you have a broken sunroof, and you're like, and you're like, but I didn't do anything. And they're like, right, but it left our lot with a fine sunroof, and it came back with a broken one, and so, you have an accident report, and it's like, but would that be, we wouldn't want that to be on that person, because they were acting in an official capacity, right? So it would but we just need to understand how to handle it. Does our insurance cover that, and therefore they deny the loss and damage waiver, or do they accept it and that's part of the expense? Because regardless, we want the person to be covered
Well,
appropriately.
yes.
Right.
That's what, when I was on official duty and was in an accident, it was all covered through the Navy.
Well, yes, I don't think that the person should be out anything.
Right, but if there was any sort of cost, your insurance company, the personal insurance company would absolutely, if they, I was actually working and so I rented a car, they would absolutely reject that outright. Because it would be, okay, so this is really on your employer, but we just need to know how to handle it. Because again, like IBM, they had their own insurance policy, of course, so we always rejected a loss and damage waiver because basically an insurance policy with 112,000 people on it,
Is cheaper, yes.
is better for them, but that's how it got handled. And so we just need to know what the direction is to give employees, even though it's not a really common expense.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, so we need to find out the answer and then decide what we're gonna put in here.
Yeah. F1C, our good friend, the VPF 130 again. I really just want to invent a form called the VPF 130.
Well, there's also in F2
They could
where
make it
it
a coloring
refers to the
page or
head
something.
coach.
Right, and I think those need to come out, I think in 3, I think that just the terms when meets needs to come out because it's not currently, I don't,
Okay,
Yep.
but yeah, I agree, so,
and this is obviously something that was pulled out of a document because it says whichever results in the lower total cost of the agency is like,
yeah, so that's what Julie's
Yeah.
saying. It's about just
Okay.
It's just removing stuff that isn't relevant. That was it on that page. Okay,
So we're taking out to the agency also? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
well, I'm replacing with NWPPRD. Whichever results in lower total cost lower total cost, period. It's implied that it's done, we
Correct.
don't care about
Correct.
the
That's a
individual.
good point. Good old Roman numeral 3, the VPF 130. So, given what we've talked about, I mean, I assume, here's what I would ask, is we have a form, can we just check that the stuff that we think is good on that form is on here? Like, let's
Yes.
just reconcile the two.
Yeah.
And if there's something that's not on the form that's on here, we probably need to address it. Just, you know what I mean, before we just take things out of here.
Right.
I mean, it might,
Oh, okay. There might be stuff that should be on the form, why isn't it on the form?
right, and I mean, so for like 6, 7, and 8, again, all the words, the word salad, can go away.
Travel status. For travel status. Whatever.
I'm guessing like the number one on there.
So we are just taking out 6, 7, and 8?
Well, I mean, breakfast, lunch, and dinner will still be on there, or
Yeah.
you can just put meals, but I mean, it's probably, segregating them is probably a good thing.
Yes,
But we're just taking out all the stuff after that.
for at least an hour and a half before, after, during, blah,
That would
blah,
be
blah.
before
Yeah.
swimming.
Exactly,
Yeah.
don't get a cramp. Exactly.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and fourth meal.
And
for Pat.
I'll check and make sure, again, that the Washington State Administrative and Accounting Manual is actually still a valid thing that we actually use.
Yeah, that's it for me on that page.
Okay. All right, and page 24, Pat wanted me to do some adjustments to the lineups. Got it? Anything else? Okay. Page 25.
I just had a general question about this one. How will we keep these current? So again, just the level of detail. I don't know the right answer. It just, again, seems like an administrative potential nightmare, but is it current, I guess is the first question.
Yeah, she gave me the thing last week and I haven't.
That was for that new
That was the
page
one you
one.
gave me, the new one. Anyway, so I will check. But, so do we want to make it less detailed and just say, in accordance with state law and some generic, this is what you good, but this is what you get, but,
I think that could be, say, copies of the state law are available from,
Well,
They
are things
should-
like
are
this on the
readily-
bulletin board? Is stuff like, are things like this on there or no?
So we need to get updated labor law posters, but usually there are references to
Okay.
different things.
Yeah, because there's certain things you have to post, and I would think that something, I don't know, I would expect that something like this, maybe.
even if it's not in the law, we should, because it's something that's a benefit that, they might want to read the exact wording.
And I don't
Yes.
know if the Paid Family Leave Act I don't know how it impacts the unpaid side. Because now we have the new one that's paid,
I know,
and so I'm not 100% sure on that.
Again, maybe this is an area where we look for guidance. Like, I'm just saying, like, we're reaching out to people who are actually better at this than we are, and looking for guidance from our insurance company about how much detail, and again, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're not gonna be as much help as I hope that they are, but really to reduce our risk and to keep the information current, which is our real goal, right? Ours is to make sure that whatever we're providing is current, then, what's our best way to do that? And they might have guidance for that.
They, the insurance company?
Correct.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna look at this with the act and see how off we are, because this is something that was written a long time ago, and I bet the law probably hasn't even changed that much. But maybe it has. But I will check.
And this one is specific, I believe, to the unpaid version. For whatever it's worth.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's, then the bottom, the other side of this was, on your guys' copies, was an exact duplicate of the page before. So now turning to 26. Anything?
For me, it's the same comment as the first part.
Oh, this is the same, yeah, okay. So again, it's probably, we're gonna maybe get rid of some or all of it.
I mean, I'd love to see us have an online reference at some point for employees, like meaning where we have the hot links to stuff. And even if it's just at one terminal or a page that they can go to on their own, where they can get to the current laws. I mean, that's, when I have a question about an RCW, the first thing I do is look it up,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't usually thumb through paper. It's like, I'm just gonna go directly to the source because that one has to be current. It would just be a nice thing for us at some point to have. I think, we can do all this stuff, that'd be great, but even just to maintain one page that's like Family Medical Leave Act, this, not all of our policies, but all the other references, it'd be great to have.
I think that's a great idea versus spelling everything out here and then when it changes just a little,
Yeah, I like that too.
yeah.
Okay. Anything on page 27?
Yeah, so I don't know what this shared leave thing is. I think that my response to that is no. I just don't see, I've never heard of anything like this. Maybe I'm missing something.
The federal government does it. I've known tons of people, because somebody gets cancer and they have all this accrued sick leave that they can't send back when they leave, so it's just a matter of,
Well, you get paid out.
Well, I don't think they do, because people give it away.
Oh, well, sick leave you don't.
Sick leave
you don't.
That's what
Right,
I'm
but you don't
saying.
have that much accrued sick leave.
But some people
who
do.
never get sick and love their jobs always go to work. I mean,
Well,
I've known
but
people-
our policy doesn't allow it.
Oh, and that's true. We don't have as much, but that's what it's for. It's for people who just, there's been an illness and everyone feels really sorry for them and they give them their leave because they've run through all their leave.
I've seen
No, I
several
think-
stories recently
Yes.
about people donating leave to teachers that were ill or had children that were ill.
Yeah, but you are correct in that we don't have a lot of people with a lot of leave.
No.
But as they are now.
Well, especially sick leave, but,
Yeah.
because that was what you're referring
Yes,
to, but yeah.
yes,
Every district I've ever worked at had this.
Really?
yeah.
And I have known cases where it has been very beneficial.
Okay.
It's a nice thing to do. I don't know that it'll get,
I
because
don't-
we're
yeah.
so small, I
Yeah.
can't see people doing it, but maybe they will. And this
Maybe.
way, it allows somebody to do that.
It's a
Especially
unique
now that
do
it has a
because you
chemical
don't take
in
It's
the
what
your-
happens too. It's happened twice.
Yeah.
I'm like, really, guys? Yeah, they've talked me into mine twice.
Oh, you haven't wanted to do it?
Well, it's not that they don't want to do it, but it's like, sure, I'll give you my money. But
Oh, well, but I mean, you're.
One
I mean,
time,
you could accumulate
one
on that
time-
sick leave and not.
one time a guy had to have surgery on his arm or leg, and then another time a coworker, her grandson got murdered. So that was the 2 times that we've done it.
Oh my God.
So we should say, employ not to be coerced. No.
Well, and it says all donations of leave are strictly voluntary.
I'm just always the one with the most leave, so they're like, well, so-and-so's giving them 20, how about you give them 100? It's like, yeah, sure. Thanks.
Because he just got done saying he doesn't.
$3,000, here you go.
I know.
Right?
Oh, so you will get recompense for it when you leave, if you don't use it?
So, yeah, I think they just adjusted it actually. We used to be allowed to sell because it was all in his PTO.
Oh,
And
so
they were
and
actually
that's-
reverting
yeah.
back to the old way a little bit.
So
It
can
was
we-
all in his PTO.
Okay, so can we just talk process here for a second? So how are we, there's a lot of outstanding stuff, which is fine, but what is our expectation for Thursday? Well, meaning, I know we can't make a decision, we're not trying to make a decision. What do we expect to bring to the table? We can talk about that, right? Can't we? I mean,
Yes.
without expecting that there'll be an agreement.
Yeah.
So do we expect there to be a motion? And if so, maybe, how about I'll say it this way as a statement. If we expect there to be a motion, maybe somebody wants to write it ahead of time because it probably has conditions to it. right? I mean, meaning, because there's some stuff that's like, we don't know about that one yet. So as somebody who's gonna vote, I wanna be sure I know what I'm voting
For,
or, yeah, exactly. So, does that make sense?
I would, yeah, go ahead.
it does, I was gonna say, there's bigger changes than I anticipated, and, to be, really honest, it's like, I still don't know where what's the thing what did you say you wanted in there? It's like we said, this is what we're about.
The mission and vision statement.
Well, that got the kibosh. I asked for an org chart. I mean, I believe that our.
No, the org chart's in, but it didn't get the kibosh. Everyone didn't say no. It's like, I didn't agree, but it's like, my impression when I left the meeting was that was still gonna go in there. Because that was something that you thought was really important that it go in there, and I just thought it'll change from commissioners to commissioners.
Our mission and vision hasn't changed. It just changed a year or two ago. It had not changed since the 90s. And your mission and vision, your goals change. Your goals should change annually.
Okay.
But your mission and vision should not change more than every 5 years.
Shouldn't, but it was well written.
If they do, you're doing it wrong.
It was well written.
Then you're doing it wrong.
I'm willing to put that in, and I'm not sure where it is, because you said it was a year or two ago. I don't remember what meeting that was in. I haven't seen it written anywhere. Did we put it?
It was on the levy materials.
I know
It was on my trifold.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's.
Yeah.
Do you have it somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got posters.
And we still have lots of the trifolds, I think.
Okay, all right, find one for me. So I can probably have the changes to that done with placeholders for those things that we need a placeholder, and I can make this, we need to ask these questions.
Okay, that'd be really cool, just so that sometimes our collective memory isn't the best.
Right.
Hey, I'm trying to be generous about the way I'm saying that, but just meaning so that way it doesn't get glazed over and somebody goes, oh, what was this again? Putting those things in there just to say, this is, TBD or whatever that'd be awesome.
I'll just put, org chart goes here, or whatever. And yes, we absolutely need that when we decide what the organization is.
Right.
But, so that's what I envision having this one ready to go. This one, because we've made some major things that I have to research, it's gonna take a little bit longer.
Okay.
Like,
I don't have any problem. I think that's actually, that's I think a better strategy is let's try to move forward with this, with the one we did last time, with placeholders, and then we'll come back to that one.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'd be great with that personally.
Okay, and what I can do is, we can have copies of my scribbled copy of this with the cleaned up copy,
Oh, that would be helpful.
and then you can, we can make a motion and not vote on it, and then you can go away for a month, and then when you come to June, I won't be here, you can vote on it, knowing that I think yes. But anyway, we can talk about that on Thursday.
Okay. All right.
Does that sound like a process?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So I think our work here is done. Thank you so much, everybody.
I move we adjourn.
We don't need to adjourn. It's
Oh.
a workshop, but thanks. You feel free to move.